Hello viewers, welcome to EduTube. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to express fractions in their lowest term. Now, in our first example, we are meant to express 28 out of 42 in its simplest form. To express this fraction in its simplest form, the first thing we will need to consider is the possible common factors that can divide 28 and 42. Now, if you're conversant with your multiplication table enough, you would know that 2 can divide 28 and 2 can divide 42 because 2 times 14 will give me 48 and 2 times 21 will give me 42. And you would also know that 3 as well can divide both of them. You would also know that 7 as well can divide them, and you would also know that 14 can divide them. Now you just think of the possible common factors that can divide both of them, but for learning purpose, I'll start from the smallest prime factor that usually can divide almost all numbers. So the smallest prime factor that can divide 2 of them is basically 2. The smallest prime factor is basically 2. So I'll start from 2 for learning purpose. So to divide 28, to reduce 28 out of 42 to their lowest term, I'm going to write 28 over 42, both of them divided by 2 over 2. So dividing both of them by 2, so if I divide 28 by 2, I'm going to get what? 14 out of, and if I divide 42 by 2, I'm going to get 21, because 2 in 2 is 1 and 2 in 8 is 4. Then 2 in 4 is 2 and 2 in 2 is 1. Now, if I look at 14 and 21, I've reduced 28 out of 42 lower to 14 and 21, but it is not over because the question says express in its simplest form. Simplest form means the form at which we can no longer divide them or simplify them. So now I could consider other factors that can divide them. 2 can still divide 14, but 2 cannot divide 21. What about 3? 3 can divide 21 but cannot divide 14. What about 4? 4 can divide none of them. 5 can divide none of them. Now if I'm conversant with a multiplication table, like I said earlier, if you are conversant with your multiplication table, like I said earlier, you would know that the common factor or the greatest common factor that can go in both of them is 7. So I'm going to use 7 to divide both of them. So I will say 7 in 14, and that will give me 2. And then 7 in 21, and that will give me what? 3. So at the end, I'm going to have 2 out of 3. So this is the simplest form in which the number 28 out of 42 can be reduced to. So that is that about example number 1. Now for this example 2, we are reducing 144 out of 360 to its lowest term. Now to reduce this fraction to its lowest term, all we need to think about is a common factor that can divide 144 and 360. And as I said in example 1, you can always start from the lowest prime factor, which is 2, because 2 can basically divide all even, in fact 2 can divide all even numbers. So now, but in this case, we are not going to start from 2, we are going to start from a larger common factor. Now, as I said also, that if you're conversant with your times table, you would already know what your common factor is. Now, looking at 144, I know already that 12 times 12 will give me 144. And I know that 12 times 3 will also give me 36, meaning that 12 times 30 will also give me what? 360. So now in this case, I could decide to use what? 12. So I'm going to decide to use what? 12 for this example, which is a larger common factor. So I'm going to say 144 divided by 12 out of 360 divided by 12. So as I said, 12 times 12 is 144, meaning that 144 divided by 12 will give us what? 12. Then 360 divided by 12. Since 12 in 36 is 3, that means 12 in 360 will be what? 30. So that means 30 times 12 is 360. Now in the next fraction, I have 12 out of 30. Now, is this the lowest term? Is this the lowest I can go? No, this is not, because 12 has a factor that can still divide it. Likewise, 30 has a factor that can still divide it. Besides, 2 of them are even numbers, meaning that they both have a common factor that can divide them. Now, I'm not going to use 2. So I'm going to also think about a greater common factor that can divide them. And looking at 12, I will know that 6 can divide 12, 2 can divide 12, 3 can divide 12, 4 can divide 12. For 30, I know that 2 can divide 30, I know that 3 can divide 30, and I know that 10 can divide 30. So, but then, the greater common factor they both have is 6. So, I'm going to divide both of them by 6. So I will say 12 divided by 6, and that is going to give me what? 5, because 5 times 6, that is going to give me what? 2 rather, pardon me. That is going to give me what? 2, because 2 times 6 is 12, and then 6 in 30, that is going to give me what? 5, because 5 times 6 is 30. Now, 2 is a prime number, likewise 5 is a prime number. So, prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1 and itself. So, meaning that 2 and 5 has no common factor. They can only be divided by themselves. So, this is the lowest or the simplest I can divide 144 or reduce 144 out of 360. So that is that about reduction of fraction to their lowest term. If you are new to this channel, please kindly click on the subscription button below this video to get notified of more academic lessons like this. And if you are a returning subscriber, we say a big thank you for your love and support always. I will see you in the next lesson.